we'll be focusing on measurement. Let's jump right in. All right, so we are on the topic or in the unit, measurement and standard units. The aim of this unit is to develop skills in using metric and imperial measures of length, mass, area, volume, and capacity, as well as measure of time, temperature in everyday contexts. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to use both metric and imperial measures for the measurement that we're looking at today. So measurement means to compare an unknown to a fixed standard value. To measure something is to give a number to some property of that thing. Measuring something puts the amount of the thing into numerical value. Measurement will take on many different units as different attributes are being measured. Every measurement must have two parts. One, the number, and two, the unit it's being measured in. All right, so we have some examples here. 550 centimeters. So the numerical part, which is 550, and it is being measured in centimeters. And that can be also 5.5 meters or 0.0055 kilometers. As you can see, there is a numerical part and a unit when you're measuring. Okay. Now, there are several things that we measure in our everyday life. Time, and that has a numerical part and it has a unit. You have height, temperature, weight, length. So we have several things that we are measuring on an everyday basis. Just remember that. For today's lesson, we are looking at area. Area is a term used to define the amount of space taken up by a two-dimensional shape or surface. All right. We measure area in square units. We have square centimeters, square meter, square feet, square inches, and the larger it gets, units will get larger. But just remember, area is measured in square units. The area of a figure is the number of unit squares that cover the surface of a closed figure. So when you talk about area, just think about what size square is being used to cover that surface, that space. I don't want to say area. So that space. What size squares are being used to cover that space? And that is why we say area is measured in square units. All right. Now here we have three shapes here. We have a quadrilateral, a circle, and a triangle. All right. So we have the first one, which is your quad, has 4 square units. And your circle, the area of your circle would be 7 square units, and your triangle would be 4.5 square units. All right, so it's not centimeters or anything, but whatever unit it is, it has to be square units. Here we are a little bit more specific. So the first shape we have is a square with sides measuring 1 centimeter. Now the area of that 1 centimeter square is 1 square centimeter. All right? Because it covers itself pretty much. There you go. Then we have another square. This square has the sides measuring 2 centimeters. Now this 2 centimeter square, the area is 4 square centimeters. That means on that square, you would have 4 squares covering it. So you'd have 4 square centimeters covering the area of that shape. Then we go to the third, which is the green one. The sides of this square are 3 centimeters in length. but the area of it is 9 square centimeters. So if you were to actually count it up, what we're saying, it would take 9 square centimeters to cover it. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you can actually look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the area is 9 square centimeters. All right. So then you have the last square, which is a 4 by 4. You say that. So it's a 4. The one of the side is 4. And of course, squares have all same sides. So it's a 4 by 4 square covered with 16 square centimeters. All right, 16 squares would be used to cover it, although the sides are 4 by 4. And of course, you should pick it up by now, pick up a pattern that for the square, 1 multiplied by 1 gives me 1 square centimeter. Then you have the 2 by 2 gives me 4 square centimeter. And the 3 by 3 gives me 9 square centimeter. And the 4 by 4, you're multiplying now, gives me 16 square centimeters. All right, awesome stuff. And we would have exhausted this, so we're going to move right on. But I just want to make sure you are paying attention. A square, all the sides are the same. If you realize this, the length of the sides, although you refer to it as height and base, they all are denoted by the same A. That means they're all the same in length. Therefore, we can pretty much say the area of a square is A squared, or base times height. And seeing that they're both A's, it will be A multiplied by A, and A multiplied by A can be shortened as A to the second power, or A squared. And of course, whenever the unit is added, or whenever the value of the letter is given a numerical value, you'll just multiply it by itself, giving you the area in squared units. All right, so let's look at the area of a square and a rectangle. Now, we would have spoken about the square, and I hope by now you'd realize that the square is a rectangle. It's just a special rectangle with all the sides being the same. So we have a regular, what you would call a regular rectangle, one that you're more accustomed to. This is a 2. One of the length of the side is 2 meters, and the other length is 5 meters. The area of the rectangle would be the base times the height, and in this case, the base would be 5 meters and the height would be 2, so it would be 5 meters multiplied by 2 meters, giving us 10 square meters. So if you were to draw in the squares that would cover this particular rectangle, you'd end up with 10 squares covering that rectangle. All right? And then you have the square over there, which is a 4 by 4, and you would have now known that you would have had 16 square centimeters to cover that particular square there with those dimensions. All right, and now we move on to the area of a triangle. Now, to bring this all into you, we would have kept the triangle inside of a rectangle. And although you can see the dotted line shows you that that rectangle is just there for you to visualize where you get that triangle from. So here we have the triangle is half a rectangle. So we can find the area of the rectangle by dividing and then divide it by 2. So let's look at that. So how do we find the area of a rectangle again? We would say base multiplied by height. So if the triangle is half the rectangle, we pretty much say the area of a triangle is half base multiplied by height. And there you go. So if you're given the height to be 3 inches and the base to be 5 inches, you can substitute those values in and actually come up with what the area of this particular triangle would be. So it is 3 multiplied by 5, which gives us 15 square inches, and we want to half that because the triangle is really half of the rectangle, and that would give us 7.5 square inches for the area of the triangle. All right? So remember, when you're finding the area of a rectangle and a square, it's base times height. Now we're looking at a triangle, the area of a triangle. The triangle is half that of a rectangle, so it's half base times height. So just remember, we've looked at 3 different shapes so far and how to calculate the area of those different shapes. We've also reminded you that the unit for area are squared units, whether it be feet, inches, centimeters, millimeters, they are always squared centimeters, squared meters, square meter. So it's always a square unit. Okay, great. So here we have another example, and there's a triangle and there's a little animation taking place there. So let's look at it. So you have the base, which is 8 centimeter, the height, which is 3 centimeters. So it's half base times height. You'd substitute the values within the equation, and you have 8 for the base, 3 for the height. You multiply, or you can actually find a half of 1 first. 4 times 3 is 12 square centimeters. All right, so this one would have found, and I would have done it over here for you in a different way. So you have area, half times base times height, and you can calculate the base multiplied by the height first and then half it, which I would have done over here. So 8 centimeters multiplied by 3 centimeters gives me 24 square centimeter. Half of that is 12 square centimeters. And it would have worked out to be the same. Then you have another shape which you can also determine the area for. The circle. The circle doesn't have the straight edges like your triangle, rectangle, and square. But let us look at a few parts of the circle just to refresh our minds. So the circle has these key features: the radius, the diameter. The radius is the distance from the center of the circle to the outer edge. Here we have this radius here. The radius can be drawn anywhere once it's touching the center and anywhere on the outer edge. This outer edge is called your circumference. So the circumference is a distance around the edge of the circle. So those are some key terms you should remember when you're looking at circle. Now, the circle's diameter is the length of line through the center from one edge to another. Why do I need to draw your attention to the diameter? The diameter is twice the measure of one radius. So that means 2 radii gives you a diameter. The diameter can be divided into 2 to give you the measure of the radius. All right, so just remember those things. It's important to know them because as you look at the area of a circle, these are things that you will have to note or have an idea of. So here we are. The area of a circle can be determined by multiplying pi, which is a given value, by the square of the radius, by squaring the radius. All right, let's look at it some more. So it means the area of a circle is equal to pi r square. All right, what does that look like? All right, so we spoke about the parts of it. So the area of the circle is pi r square, which really means pi multiplied by r multiplied by r. Because when you square something, you multiply it by itself. All right. So pi is usually rounded to 2 or 3 decimal places. We can use pi as 3.14 or 22/7. All right? So just remember the value of pi is normally given. All right, so here we go. Let's calculate the area of a circle. So here we're given the value for the radius of this circle. The radius is 6 centimeters. All right, so let us look at how we'd calculate this. So the area of a circle is pi r square. So we're pretty much writing out what pi r square is, which is pi multiplied by r multiplied by r. Now, which is what? Bud mass. So of course I would have introduced PEMDAS, and this is Bud mass, which tells you the order of operation. And it means that you are going to work out your exponents first, okay? So it will be bracket, operations, which is also seen as your exponents, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So let us work out r squared first. So r squared, that means 6 multiplied by 6 is 36. Then you're going to multiply 36 by whatever value of pi you're using. In this instance, we're using 3.14, and that would give us the area being 113.04 square centimeter. All right, so for this circle, the area is 113.04 square centimeters. All right, so let's just look here at some of the things that we'd have done so far about area. The shape rectangle, to find the area of a rectangle, you multiply either the base times the height, or in this instance, you have the length times the breadth. So you'll see different words, different names given to the different sides. However, as you can see, it's one side multiplied by the other side. All right, so for the square, you know that a square is unique because all sides are equal. However, it has a similar dimension of the rectangle. So you're multiplying the length times the length, or base times height. They're all the same, so you can just square it. So the area of a square is a squared. In this instance here, we're using a to denote the side. And the circle, which we just did, the area of a circle is pi multiplied by r squared. Great. And of course, you know r stands for radius. Then you have the area of a triangle. Seeing that a triangle is half of a rectangle, we can pretty much say the area of a triangle is half base times height. And this triangle is pretty much the type of triangle you're meeting at this level. There are other triangles which this may not work for. However, that will take a total different lesson to go into the area of that triangle. All right, guys. It's that time of day when we look at some City and Guilds exam questions and help us understand what the question is asking us. And let's see if we can put our heads and apply the knowledge that we would have just gone through and answer the question. All right, so you need to buy a new carpet for an L-shaped room. Now here's the diagram of your L-shaped room, and dimensions are given. The longest side of the room is 6 feet, and then you have another side, the next longer side would be 3.5 feet, and then you have another side 2.5 feet, and then they give you the last side, which is 3 feet long. Now, what is the total area of the room? So we're looking at this room, and if you are looking carefully, you can pretty much see that you have two distinct rectangles. So because you now know how to find the area of a rectangle, let's apply that knowledge. All right, so we have rectangles. Area of a rectangle is base times height. So let's find the area of the first rectangle. We're going to call it rectangle A. So rectangle A, and we're going to use this dimension and this dimension. So it's going to be, because it's a rectangle, this length is the same as this length. So 6 feet multiplied by 2.5 feet. Why we can't use this 3.5 feet? Yes, ma'am, because this 3.5 feet is talking about not only this distance, but all the way down to here. And if I go here, and that's not a rectangle, so that can't work. So it's 2.5 feet multiplied by 6. And what would that give us? 15 square feet, okay? So that's the area of rectangle A. Let's look at rectangle B now. What are the dimensions of rectangle B? Well, you have the base, which is 3 feet. What about this side though? How are we going to find this? Great, I hope you see it. So this, if I were to take away this piece, which is here, from the entire length there, I would get this piece. So that's what I would have done. 3.5 feet subtract 2.5 feet gives me 1 feet. So now I have the dimension base times height. 3 times 1 gives me 3 square feet. So now that I have the area for both rectangle A and rectangle B, I can add them to give me the total area of the room, which is 15 square feet plus 3 square feet, which is 18 square feet. There you go. So you can always break up a compound shape and figure out what shapes are used to make that compound shape and find the area of individual shapes and then add them together to give you the total area of the compound shape. All right, so we're here at another question. What is the area of the shape? And this shape now, if you're looking carefully, you'd see that the shape is made up of a rectangle and 2 triangles. All right, awesome. So we see the triangle. Now, I use the word here and I want you to know the word same or congruent. Congruent means same. So the triangles are identical. All right, great. So let us find the area of the rectangle first. You should know by now, area of a rectangle is base times height. So what's the base of the rectangle? 9 inches, and the height would be 5 inches. Great, so we can find it. 9 multiplied by 5, 45. So the area of the rectangle is 45 square inches. Great. Now we need to find the area of the triangles. Oh, but let's see if we can do this in a little easier way. What do you think? We can use area of a triangle to be half base times height. And we could find the area of one triangle and then multiply it by 2 because they are congruent. They're the same. However, if we were to put both triangles together, they really make one rectangle. So we can pretty much find the area of that rectangle right away. So the base of the rectangle would be the base of one of the triangles. How are we going to find the base of the triangle, though? It wasn't given. The length from one end of the entire shape to the next is 22 inches. Then the length of the rectangle, which is in the middle, is 9 inches. So if I were to take away the 9 from the 22, it would give me the length of both base of the triangles. So then I would divide it by 2 to get the base of one triangle. And that's what I did. So 22 subtract 9 gives me 13. And half of 13 would be 6.5. And then I'll multiply my 6.5 by 5, giving me 32.5 square inches, or 32.5 square inches. All right, so am I finished? No, they asked me what is the area of the shape. So although I found the area of the rectangle and I found the area of the triangles, I now need to put them together. So the area of the shape equals the area of the rectangle plus the area of the 2 triangles, which is also a rectangle. And I can now add everything. 45 square inches plus 32.5 square inches, given me 77.5 square inches. And that would be option B. I hope you're following. I hope you're paying attention. When we have compound shapes, we find the way to separate the shapes that make up that compound shape. In this instance, we found the 2 triangles which are congruent. We found that if you were to put them together, it would give you one rectangle. So I did it the easy way. I found the area of the rectangle and then added it to the area of the other rectangle. And I was able to come up with the correct area of the compound shape. All right, guys. So we're here now, area of a circle. Now, there's no diagram given, but you know what a circle looks like. And you have some key information. So let's see what is given. The radius of a circle is 7 centimeters. What is the area of the circle? So if you look here, the formula, the way to calculate the area of a circle isn't given. You're given everything you need, though. You're given the value of the radius, which is 7 centimeters, and you're also given the value of pi, because it says, take pi as 22/7. So you should know that the area of a circle is pi r square. So what are you going to do? You're going to substitute the values that you're given. Pi is 22/7 multiplied by r squared, which is 7 multiplied by 7. And you would of course simplify as best as possible, and then you do your multiplication. So you have 154 square centimeter is the area of this circle having a radius 7 centimeter. Guys, I hope you're following. We have been looking at area, and area is the space covered by square units. Okay? And remember, just figure out the shape that you're finding the area of and work with that. That's all the time we have for today's math lesson.